Zach, we're talking about the imbalance between federal spending on children versus seniors. And obviously the biggest senior program is Social Security, and next to that is Medicare. So, I mean, there were years ago when, President Bill Clinton was in office and even under President Obama, there seemed to be a bit of a bipartisan consensus that, we maybe needed to slow the growth of Social Security. And one popular way of doing that, of course, would be raising the retirement age. But that consensus seems to have broken down. I mean, the Democrats and even former President Trump is now saying, we're not going to touch seniors, or we're not going to touch Social Security. And last year, the State of the Union, President Biden urged all of the Congress to stand up for seniors and promise not to touch Social Security and Medicare. I mean, what's going on? I mean, financially, those trust funds, Social Security, Medicare trust funds are approaching insolvency, and yet everyone seems to be acting like we can continue to do nothing. What's your thought here?
Sure. So look, without rescue, Social Security, which is, undoubtedly one of Democrats' greatest policy achievements, without rescue, it's going to fail to pay full benefits that the beneficiaries expect. We're talking 2033, 2034. And that seems like a long time off, but regardless of who wins this presidential election this year, it's going to be the president after that deals with it. Because President Trump or President Biden would only have one more term. Look, after 2020, Social Security went from, having more income than benefits being paid out. And now it's the opposite case. The trust fund itself is shrinking. And when those assets run out, we're looking at about a 23% cut across the board. If the trust fund binds at that point, if we're only paying benefits out for every dollar we're taking in. The challenge here is Democrats think broadly that there's two easy solutions, and I just disagree that they're as easy as Democratic policymakers and politicians say they are. The first is, there's a lot of ability to raise taxes on the rich and high income earners. Okay, you can raise the payroll tax max, but if you eliminated it, that wouldn't get you all the way there on Social Security solvency. And again, that would be a very large tax increase. And then the other is we can kind of wave a wand and say, all right, well, the Social Security trust fund doesn't necessarily need to be a trust fund anymore. We can backfill any shortfall in Social Security benefits from general revenue, from the rest of the money that the government is taking in, or through more bond issuance through the deficit. And while, sure, the Congressional Budget Office, which is Congress's scorekeeper, says that is costless, that doesn't mean that it is actually costless. When market participants, the bond markets, and even everyday people kind of recognize, oh, Social Security isn't as protected anymore. So that's kind of the challenge, and I think Democrats have to wrestle with that and figure out what is a good path forward on Social Security. Social Security is not going to be something that Democrats are going to only solve by themselves. It's going to take bipartisan support. Unlike, recent big pieces of legislation that both parties have done, they're not going to be able to use the budget reconciliation process to deal with Social Security. It's actually prohibited under the rules. So to save Social Security, it's going to take it's going to take 60 votes in the Senate. It's going to be subject to the filibuster, and it's unlikely that a single party will have enough control to kind of deal with it on its own.